What's going on, chicken friends? It's Donna Little from the Coop Scoop, and I'm sitting out here in my chicken coop because I've opened up my brooder. Isabel, take it outside, girl. There's rarely a quiet moment with chickens, but I've added a little pen so they can go outside a little bit because I was in here cleaning, and they're thoroughly enjoying it, and I don't want to make them come back in right now, but I have to keep an eye on them, so I have to sit out here. But I have been wanting to make a series of videos, sort of a chicken keeping 101 for new chicken keepers for a while, and I am finally taking the time to do this. So I do want my first video to start with the basics of chicks. We'll start from the beginning, right? But I want to add a few things that are just things that aren't always talked about. I think if you decide you're going to get chicks for the first time, you might go online and go, okay, here's what I need. I need chick feed, a water, I need a brooder pen, and I need a heat source, you know. So those are your basics, but there are a few things that I wish someone had told me when I got started that I'm now going to tell you. So I'm going to share it with the world. And you know what made me think about this is the other day I was on Facebook, and I rarely go on Facebook, but I am in, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 different chicken groups. And a lady made a post, and it was just a picture of her chicken who was laying out with one wing spread out sort of on her side, and the lady said, I'm new to chicken keeping, so please be kind. Is my chicken okay? And I just thought, ugh, it drives me crazy when people always have to preface a question by saying, please be kind, because that's what the chicken groups are there for, is for you to learn. And it just, the whole belittling people drives me up the wall, because this woman, I would say it was about 50-50. She had actual answers, and then she had the internet trolls, you know. So people were saying, no, your chicken's absolutely fine. She's just taking a sun bath, which is what was going on. And it's something that you see all the time when you had chickens, but why would you know that if you didn't ever have a chicken before? So you wouldn't know that. You don't know what you don't know, you know? So about half the answers were, you know, things like, the egg has been laid, folks. That is what's going on out there. Hazel, and that's my nemesis, Hazel. If you watch my channel, you know who Hazel is. Anyway, a lot of the answers were, you know, don't you know how to use Google? Good gosh, why do you even have chickens if you don't know any more than that, you know? And it's just like, people, I want this channel to be a place where you can come and ask whatever you want to ask. If it's a legitimate question and I know the answer, I'm going to give you that answer, even if it's something that you might think, oh, I hate even asking this question because I should probably already know this. If you've never had chickens before, no, you probably shouldn't have already known this. Let me just show you something real quick. This is Summer, one of my little 8 nuggets. Now, let's not poke any of my eyeballs out, okay? Get down. No one expects you to know things that you should know. A lot of things you definitely learn with experience. For instance, the other day, I learned, it was about 2 weeks ago, I learned that a chicken can indeed do a full somersault in a nest box and get stuck on her back. I had no idea. Things that you learn after 30 years of chicken keeping, right? So it is always a learning experience. I learned something else too that I'm about to talk about with my new chicks. I should have known this. I kind of did know this, but it's something that happened that has never happened to me, and it could have ended in tragedy. So this is what I want to talk about. Now, I'm going to try to keep each of these videos to less than 15 minutes, so I'm not just rambling, kind of like I'm doing right now. So we're going to start with talking about chicks, and I'm going to very quickly go over the basics. If you are new to chicken keeping and you are about to go and buy your first chicks, you are going to need some sort of container, pen, something that will safely contain them. That is going to be your brooder. You need some source of heat, whether that is a heat lamp or a brooder plate, and you are going to need chick starter feed and a waterer for them to have water in. I am going to start with telling you guys this because it's something that I don't see being talked about enough, in my opinion, is when you provide them with a source of heat, they need to have enough space to get away from that heat. If they don't, they can quickly overheat, because when they're teeny tiny and they don't have any feathers on them yet and they're just little downy fuzzballs, they cannot regulate their own temperature at all. So in their first week of life, they need 95 degrees, second week about 90 degrees, 85 degrees after that, 80 degrees after that, and on and on. And before you know it, they're going to be feathered and they don't need any source of heat at all. But in the first few weeks of life, they do indeed need some sort of a heat source. If they don't have a place to get out of that heat, though, if they get too hot, that can be just as dangerous to them as if you didn't provide heat for them at all. So be aware of that. Something that is fantastic to have is a laser thermometer, and you can just point it and it'll show you right here under the heat lamp is 95 degrees, but 2 feet away over there is 85 degrees, and that should be fantastic when you first bring them home. So just be aware of that. You may need to adjust. If you have a brooder plate, bring it up higher as they get a little bit older, or your heat lamp a little further away. You also need to know that your brooder pen is secure, especially if you're going to keep them outside in a coop. You don't want them to be able to get out in any way, shape, or form, because your hens or your rooster would possibly kill them. You also, if you have them in the house, if you have a cat or a dog, on top of the fact that you don't want little chicks running all over your house, because that's going to go downhill real quick. They poop a lot, so you don't want to walk in a laundry room and find that going on. So make sure that it's secure. If you do have them in, say, one of those big bins, a container, put a mesh top. You want something where you're going to have some good airflow in there. So that's something to think about. That is definitely a necessity, especially, like I said, if you have a cat or a dog, they're going to probably be very, very interested in these chicks, and not in a good, I want to be your friend kind of way, most of the time anyway. So when you put them in their brooder, you're going to want something that their little feet can grip onto. So whether that be shavings or pee pads or something like paper towels, anything where they aren't slipping, because they aren't very strong when they first come home. So you don't want their little legs to splay out. That's called splayed legs or spraddle legs, and that can create a whole other problem that can easily be fixed, but if you can avoid it, all the better. So just make sure that there's something on the ground that they can get a good grip on. Appropriate feeders and waterers. I don't see this talked about very often either. You want to make sure that their waterer is something that they aren't really going to be getting into. Don't just put it in a bowl. A chick can drown in a very, very shallow amount of water. It's surprising. So that has fortunately never happened to me, but I see it in the chicken groups all the time. So just be very careful. I have a chick waterer, and I know you might be saying they're going to outgrow this in no time. I'm not going to waste my money. They're not expensive. They're very inexpensive. I think I paid $6 or $5 or $6 for this one. It has a very shallow pan, and they also don't have a lot of space to get into it. So you don't want them to get wet when they're itty bitty, because they can, get chilled really, really quickly since they can't regulate their own temperature. And you also don't want them to stand in it, slip, and possibly drown. So get a chick waterer. That is going to be much better than a larger chicken waterer. Also, as far as their feeders, I always take a large tray and I put a smaller container in the middle of that, and that way when they scratch their feet out, then it's just going to go onto that tray and they'll still be able to eat it, instead of, because chicks are very wasteful. Chickens in general are very wasteful with their feed if you have a feeder where they can throw it out. And they do like to get in there and toss it around. So if you have, this is where I'm getting to what happened to me. I had, with this group of chicks, a little plastic container in the middle of the tray, and they would go and stand there by it and eat their food. One of them, one day when the little container was a little bit low on feed, I walked in and literally saw it happen. The chicks hopped up onto the edge of it and flipped the bowl over onto the chick. Had I not been there to see it happen, it could have been a tragedy, because if that chick ended up under the heat lamp, and it could overheat very quickly if it was stuck inside that plastic container, on top of the fact that if I had been gone for 8 hours that day, like a lot of people are gone 8-10 hours, it could have, you know, literally between the heat and not having water, it could have expired. So please make sure you have appropriate waters and heaters. If your chicks start to pick on a chick, and you know, I think sometimes people think these precious little fuzzballs, nobody's going to be a bully when they're this tall. And that is not always the case. So sometimes you will have all the chicks sort of gang up on one chick. You know, I don't really always know why that happens, but sometimes that is a really easy fix with just giving them a bigger space. Sometimes that'll do the trick, just letting them be able to get away from each other a little bit. We all need a little alone time, you know, every now and then, including little chicks. So you might want to be able to give them a little bit more space if that's possible. If that's not possible, I would say give them something new in there, something else to focus on. They're very inquisitive. They like to see new things. They love to hop up on things. I always give mine I'll use a little limb from outside. I don't have to go buy anything. And, you know, make them a little roost bar. They love hopping up on things. I will put a box in there, something upside down, cut a hole in it. You know, like I'll do it a lot of times where it's through both sides. They can go in and out of it. They can hop up on top of it. Sometimes they just need something to take their mind off of their bad behavior, and everybody will get along again. I would also, I want to talk about something it's not pretty, but it's necessary, is pasty butt. I have mentioned this before in a video or two probably, but this can be a matter of life and death sometimes if it gets bad enough. So that's one of the reasons I love to have my chicks always inside, at least for the first week. Ruby, do you need to be involved? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I did ask, right? Well, come here. Okay, thank you. If they poop and it gets stuck to their little feathers, and then they poop again, and a little bit more gets stuck, it can build up and completely block their vent. Chicks poop every, 10 or 15 minutes. So if they can't poop for hours at a time, it can end up actually killing them because they, if you gotta poop, you gotta poop, right? So, easy fix, not fun, but just go and get a warm, wet washcloth, or I would say a paper towel might be better, and just try to gently get it off. If it's really, really stuck on there and you can't gently, girl, there's rarely a quiet moment with chickens. If you can't gently get it off, then just take them to the sink and put it under the water, and that'll break it down and get it off. And just make sure you get them pretty good and dry before you put them back in the brooder. That is something that's pretty important. If you also see a chick, Ruby, if you see a chick that is lethargic, that's not normal. Chicks, if they're not sleeping, they're up, and they're active, and they're peeping, and they're... Girl, can you stop? I think she said no. If you see a chick that's lethargic, it needs to be addressed pretty quickly. They can go downhill pretty quickly if something is wrong. And sometimes it's just as simple as, now she's off and she's chasing a cicada. Good. If they have been pushed away from the food bowl, a couple of times, and they just didn't eat, and then they went and took a nap, they might just really be hungry. And sometimes if they get too past being hungry, then they just won't eat. So you definitely need to remedy that situation pretty quickly. Aw, this is my little chocolate Orpington willow. Turn around, it's rude. You're like showing your beauty. There you go. Please don't peck my eye out. If you see that, I would suggest some electrolytes in their water. You can buy little packets at Tractor Supply or your local feed store, and it has vitamins in it. But if your chick is not wanting to drink, then I would say maybe go and get a room temperature egg and just pull some of the yolk up in like a 1 cc syringe. You're just going to put it at the side of their beak. Don't try to open their beak up. When they feel it on the side of their beak, they'll take it in. You don't want to try to shove it in because then you can cause them to aspirate, and that's another whole problem. But all right, sit down. No pooping, okay? You're on a video. You got to behave. But you're going to want to give them little bits of that at a time, maybe once an hour, every couple of hours, and that will usually be all they need. They just get a little bit boost of energy and nutrients from that, and they're going to be back on track again. So that is about all I can think of off the top of my head. I hope you guys are enjoying our content, and if you are, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because I have seen a lot of people here lately say, I didn't even know you put videos out, I've only seen your shorts. Yes, I put videos out, and if you had that notification bell on, you would know that. Please don't jump too high, okay? All right, there you go. So yeah, hit that notification bell so you won't miss a video. I'm going to do a series of things sort of like this as chickens grow, things to be looking for, things you might not know. And hopefully you will get some important and or super helpful tips for you to help you on your path to successful chicken keeping. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.